Preparing the Krabby Patty. Wait, we're recording, right? Yes, we're recording. Okay, you may think this is a book haul. It is not. These are from past book hauls that have been sitting on my shelf for a little bit and that I really want to get to in 2023. It's already March, which is crazy. And I feel like I've been going at a good clip when it comes to reading, but I also feel like there's a bunch of books that I want to get to this year. I have a lot of book clubs that I'm in, so I have really limited options when it comes to just books that I pick myself. So they're very important that I choose carefully, so I have to have some of them kind of rattling around in my mind. By the way, hi, I'm Katherine. Welcome to my channel. I sit and I talk about books. Stay a while, grab a drink, enjoy yourself. Anyway, yeah, there's a bunch of books I want to get to. Unfortunately, my TBR list just gets longer and longer and longer, and I don't like to think about it, but I will never be able to read all of the books on my TBR. I don't want to think about that. We're going to try. We're really going to try. But I'm averaging at about 40 books a year, so it's probably not going to happen. But these are books that I wanted to discuss, mostly because a lot of them are very popular, or they're just ones, I don't really have a particular reason. There's just I get a weird gut feeling that I'm like, I have to read this book. So that's a lot of these on this list. So I just thought I'd go through them and talk them. And if they're ones that you have read or are going to read, let me know. Love to discuss it. So yeah, let's kick it off. The first one is The Monk by Matthew Lewis, which I feel like this book, every time you bring it up, there should just be heavy metal music in the back. Because this book has got so much stuff in it. It's basically about this monk in Madrid in Spain. This was written in the very, very late 18th century. I believe it was 1796. Written by a guy who was 19 years old. What was I doing when I was 19? Not writing a classic novel, that's for sure. I was probably... I won't say it. It's about this monk who kind of falls for this woman, and there's some dire consequences. It contains many typical Gothic elements: seduction in a monastery, lustful monks, evil abbesses, bandits, and beautiful heroines. But Lewis also played with convention, ranging from gruesome realism to social comedy, and even parodied the genre in which he was writing, which is awesome. I've heard from people who have read this that even though it was written in 1796 and it's real old, it feels modern and feels new. So I'm really excited for this. I don't know why. Maybe it's this guy's face. He's like, read me. Yeah, read me. He looks creepy as hell, which I think probably really sums up what the book feels like. And I don't know. I want to get grossed out. I want to get grossed out by an old monk and not actually have to meet him in person. So, I don't know. This book's been calling to me. It's just a weird gut feeling that I'm like, this is the year I read The Monk. And he's been creepily, patiently waiting on my shelf for a while to be read. So, I'm really looking forward to this. So yeah, The Monk. Next one, actually, of all the books, this one has the most purpose because my boyfriend and I are visiting South Korea next month. We've been looking forward to this trip for so long, and I am so excited. So I figured I should read, because I've never read anything by either a Korean author or a Korean American author. So I was like, I should probably read something just to kind of get me in the mood and in the zone for traveling. And it's Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I have been wanting to read this for a really long time, and finally I was like, well, 2023 is the year that I go to South Korea. I should probably read something from Korea. So, or at least by a Korean American author. The reason I've been wanting to get into this, I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I don't think there's a single person out there who's about Pachinko. It's a family drama, which I really like. It's about this woman who has a son with this man who's very wealthy and powerful, but she doesn't want to be basically bought by him, so she she marries another man instead who's less wealthy, less powerful, and the ramifications that has all throughout the family lineage. It starts in the early 1900s. I love me a good family lineage drama. We love it. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez with the Buendias. Love it. We are a big fan of Homegoing by Yagyasi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but that also has the same kind of family lineage bent going to it. And that's what this book has as well. I've just heard beautifully written. It has that family drama to it, which I really like. And I mean, I can't go wrong. It also has, I think, a lot to do with the relations between Korea and Japan in the turn of the century, which is not something that really was ever focused too much on in world history, but I am very interested in the relationship because I know it is a bit contentious, to say the least. And I know that this will kind of not represent, but give me a little bit of a taste of what that's like. Also, a good movie about that is The Handmaiden. If you have not seen The Handmaiden, go watch it right now. That movie is incredible. And my boyfriend and I are big Korean movie fans. We're big Korean food fans. I'm really into Korean skincare. Thank you, CosRx Snail Mucin, for saving my skin. Not right now, but usually. I was like, I haven't read anything by a Korean or Korean American author, so I think it's time. So, Pachinko, Min Jin Lee. So I mentioned this book in my last book haul because I recently got it. This book, for some reason, has just been like sitting in my mind to read. And when I saw it at the bookstore, I was like, great. Then I think it's just more of a sign that I'm going to read this book. And The Band Played On by Randy Shilts. I won't go too much into this because I went into it just recently. But basically, this is a very comprehensive and now kind of classic nonfiction account of the early days and the onset of the AIDS epidemic in the early to mid 80s. And how it was dealt and not dealt with by the government and the sort of the public perception of it and how it played out. I don't know why. I just feel like nonfiction-wise, like this book has really been calling to me. I know a good amount about the AIDS crisis, but I do not know really fully. Again, I didn't live during it. We learned about it kind of sort of in school as kind of like and here's a modern thing that happened. But we didn't do like a deep dive, and I think I'd want to do just my own kind of deep dive on it. I really like nonfiction because it does kind of serve that purpose for you as an adult. You're like, hey, here's this topic that I didn't spend that much time on in school, but me as an adult is just interested in because I'm a huge nerd. So here's a book on it, and like I'm just gonna do my own research on it. Salem witch trials, going in on Salem witch trials on my own end because I just am interested in it, and it wasn't something that was focused on that much. And it's the same thing with the AIDS crisis. So this is supposed to be amazing. Just a great nonfiction work, great account. And The Band Played On. She thick, but I'm excited to get to this one. Oh. What? There's a sticker in here. See, that's why I like buying used books, because you find random crap stuck in here, and I'm so excited. This is a, like, kind of breakfast cafe place that's near my apartment. It's in Rogers Park. Do not assume my gender. Smack dab. Oh, I'm going to use this as the bookmark for this book. Amazing. The next one, again, is just a totally random one. No reasons. It's not for a book club. It's just one that for some reason I'm like, that's the book I want to, like, I'm really interested in reading this. It's Geek Love by Katherine Dunn. Weird cover. It's really bright, first of all. I'm like, a little sitting next to it. Really interesting cover, because when I first saw this cover, I was like, I don't know. It's called Geek Love. So I'm like, this is going to be about, like, two nerds falling in love over a video game. Like, the font, me being ignorant on what the word geek means in terms of, like, of what it actually means in this context. I just was confused by this. And so I like would see it on Goodreads, or I would see someone was reading it and I was like, that just doesn't sound interesting to me. Until, Catherine, I took the time and I actually read the back. I was like, oh, actually, that does sound super interesting. Also kind of a family drama. Geek Love is the story of the Benuskis, a Carney family whose mater and paterfamilias, so mother-father familias, set out with the help of amphetamine, arsenic, and radioisotopes to breed their own exhibit of human oddities. So it's about carnies. When was the last time you've read or seen anything about carnies? There's a movie that just came out. Kate Blanchett and Bradley Cooper. I watched it. It was 3 hours of my life. But that was a good movie. That had carnival elements, but it wasn't about carnies specifically. It was about carnies. And I just think that's just very interesting. That's an interesting thing to set up for a novel. And I know it's about family drama. They're very twisted. So I was like, oh. And geek in this context means, like, that's what carnival workers were called. They were called geeks. Or carnival freaks. I put that in big quotes. Were called geeks. And I'm like, that's why it's called Geek Love. But this cover doesn't give you anything. Bright orange, that doesn't give you anything at all. So I walked by this so many times, but now I'm really interested. I'm really interested in reading this for just some reason. Again, I hope it's macabre. I hope it's dark. I hope it gets gross. Like that's what I'm here for. But also, I'm sure there's gonna be very tender parts as well. It's about a family. I don't know. I get a good vibe from Geek love, so that's what we're gonna go for. The next one is one that's super popular on BookTube and on Goodreads. It's Ocean Vuong's On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. This has been sitting on my shelf for a really long time now. I got this really when it first came out, and I have always been interested in picking up, and just for some reason I just walk by it because I'm silly. I'm kind of late to the party on this one. This one is very popular. Ocean Vuong is blowing up right now. I mean, he has his other novels that are super popular. Night Sky with Exit Wounds. His poetry collection just came out, Time as a Mother. So he's doing great for himself. But this is a book about a boy, and it's a letter to his mother who cannot read. And it's sort of about, again, family is a big thing here. I'm really getting interested in the family novels. But it's about their family, kind of their family story. It starts in Vietnam. It's about the relationships between that and American culture. And I don't know, I've heard such great things about this novel and about his writing, and I've never read anything by him. So I'm very interested in picking this up. His titles for things are so amazing. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Like, wow, like, is that not intriguing? Or Night Sky with Exit Wounds. Great title. Great title. So that pulls you in already. Like, I know so many people who love this book, so it's about time. He's been waiting patiently, but it's time. So yeah, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. The last one is a big boy. This is a big, hefty boy. It's Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. You probably all think I'm nuts. I'm like, why am I picking up these like massive tomes? This one has been on my list really since I've had a Goodreads. Like, this has been on my list for a long time. And why? Because I'm a huge theater dork. I'm a huge theater dork. And I have loved the musical Les Misérables since I first saw it when I was 9 or 10. Maybe a little too young to go see it, but my mom was like, you're mature, you got it. And then she was like, oh, I forgot all this stuff was in here. But since I saw it, like, fell in love with that musical. So with this book, there's going to be not a whole lot that's going to surprise me. I know the trajectory of the whole story and the plot. I can sing it. There's still going to be things that obviously a 3-hour musical can't fit from this giant book. I've always wanted to read this. I've always wanted to. Problem is, I've never wanted to read an abridged version. There's many an abridged version because, let's be honest. But I always, just as a point of pride, I guess, or just to be fully read up on what the book is and what the author intended to put out there, I like to read the full unabridged text. So finding it, I just wanted to make sure that I like saw it in person and I didn't want to order it online, just to make sure that when it arrived, it wasn't like 400 pages. Then I'd be like, that's not it. This for sure is the full thing, because the text is kind of small and it's 1,194 pages, which will make it maybe the longest book I've ever read. Not counting Infinite Jest. I think that might have been the longest just because of the footnotes that you have to read for that book. But this is a long one. For those who don't know Les Misérables, go listen to the musical. It's just so good. It's a beautiful feat of human achievement. But it is about, there's tons of characters, but it is really about Jean Valjean, who goes to prison for 19 years for stealing a loaf of bread, which, if you had a bad day, he's set free finally. And the police officer, Javert, is basically like, I don't like you. I'm going to keep my eye on you. And Jean Valjean's like, okay. But Jean Valjean leaves prison and actually then succeeds. He becomes like a mayor of a town. He owns a factory. Like, he's doing well for himself. He takes in this small child of one of his factory workers. And it's a whole, like, he basically becomes her father. It has this whole storyline. And then there's set the backdrop, basically. Growing up, I thought it was the French Revolution. It's not. It's more so in like the 1820s. There was like a student uprising in Paris against the government. And so it also has that as the background. So there's some political strife. And it was just about the conditions in France at the time, which don't sound too good. It didn't sound too hot. But I don't think I'd want to live there. There's a chunk of time in August and September where I'm not doing as many book clubs. So that's when I'll pick this one up. Just a light beach read to get me through. But I'm so happy I got my hands on a good copy of this. It's the Modern Library editions, which I really like their editions. I think they're really pretty. It wasn't too badly priced either. I got it for $9.50. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited for this, especially because I love the musical. So I'm going to want to listen to the musical while I read this. Disgusting. Just disgusting. Those are some of the books I wanted to get to in... Oh, I forgot. One more book, which I don't have on me. I have been recently getting into graphic novels. I read Persepolis in high school, which was kind of my first introduction to them. And then for some reason, I just don't pick them up that often. But then when I do, I'm like, I should be reading more graphic novels. In high school, I picked up Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi, Iranian, about the Iranian Revolution and her time growing up in that. Fantastic. But then I didn't pick one up for a really long time. And then this past year, I read Fun Home by Alison Bechdel, which was really good. Highly recommend that one. So now I'm like, okay, I want to continue on this graphic novel train, but I've never, ever, ever read manga. I've just never picked it up. It's really only been in like, the past year or so, 2 years, where manga has kind of come in vogue. People always read manga in the West, but it wasn't seen as like kind of a cool, hip Gen Z thing to do until I'd say about like this past year. Mostly due to, I would say probably Book Talk and BookTube were the biggest advocates for it. So I've been interested in picking it up. And just in like my research, I'm like, yeah, some of these don't seem like my thing. They might seem a little young, or maybe I'm just not the target audience because I'm a 26-year-old woman. But one that does look really entertaining, just for pure entertainment's sake, is Rooster Fighter. It's about a rooster that fights crime. I want to read it. Blanking on the author's name right now. I'll leave it here, but I really want to read it. It just seems kind of ridiculous, but also really fun. Maybe has some poignant points, maybe. But I've read like a page or two, and I'm like, I have to. It's the kind of fun where I know it's self-aware, and that's what I really like. If it's corny and it's goofy and it's taking itself too seriously, I won't be into it. But if it knows how ridiculous it is, I'm so down for that ride. So my first manga, I'm gonna try to get to it, I'm gonna get my hands on it, is Rooster Fighter. I'm actually really pumped. So yeah, those are the books I want to get to. There are many more, but I figured these were good ones just to feature because we could be here all day if I was like, and I want to get to this one, and I want to get to this one. And again, there are books sitting on my TBR that have been sitting there for a while that I'm probably going to get to. There'll be some other ones thrown in. This is not by any means an exhaustive list, nor were these in order of like the preference I want to read them or what times I want to read them. This is just to like be fun and be like, this is what I want to read. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, subscribe if you feel like it. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm always here just for fun. Let me know in the comments what you want to read in 2023. I'm interested. Let's talk about it. All right, well, thanks. Bye.